Welcome, I'm Michael Bickert. Thanks for joining me today as we explore concepts with the objective of improving your management skills and growing your business. Please pause the video right now so that you can grab a notepad and a pen, because I want you to make a commitment to yourself each and every time you listen to one of these videos that you will jot down an action item, something that you will implement in your business toward improvement today. All right. Great news. I was wrong, said no one ever. Think about it. Do you enjoy being wrong? When is the last time that you rejoiced in the realization that you were completely wrong? I actually do. I don't know if that's completely unusual, and as we explore this concept a little deeper, maybe you will find that you're similar to me in this regard, but I don't know. That's not what I observe. I think somebody listening to this who knows me well might say, Michael, come on. You hate being wrong. You dig in and you will argue to the bitter end to defend your position, and that's true. So what's with the paradox there? And what's with the difference between what I said and then I just acknowledge that it's true that I will dig in and fight to the bitter end to defend a position I have. So which is it? Do I hate being wrong or do I rejoice in being wrong? Well, it's not actually a contradiction, because I truly do rejoice in being wrong, but I, like so many others, carefully consider my position on things, and I force people to really work to try to get me to change my mind. If you are going to challenge my premise, then and you're going to play devil's advocate, then you're going to have really good logic and reason behind your argument. And that's why I come across as having to be right, quote unquote, and never wanting to be wrong. Of course, you know, there is some pain associated with realization that you're wrong. But then what am I talking about when I say that I rejoice in being wrong? Great news. I'm wrong. The thing is this, there have been several times throughout my life, in particular more recently in the last 5 years, that I've discovered things that I believed for a very long time were untrue. And those realizations, those paradigm shifts, led to great improvement in my life. And so that's why I rejoice in being wrong. It's kind of like the discovery of a great secret. You know, it was maybe a premise, a concept that wasn't secretive, but it may as well have been secretive to you because you didn't believe it. You believed something different. And as is the case with paradigms, I've mentioned before, they are like mental maps. If you have a map, if you have the wrong map, if you're trying to find an address within a given city and you have the wrong map, your attitude and your behavior do not matter. The fact that you may, or the possibility that you may have a great attitude with the wrong map is just going to mean when you're lost, you won't care you're lost. You'll have a positive attitude. You'll have a big smile on your face, but you're still lost. And the possibility that you're willing to work twice as hard as everyone else, that's your behavior, that won't matter when you have the wrong map, because you're just going to get lost twice as fast. Once you have the right map, now your attitude and your behavior really do matter. So we've covered that before, and it's along those same lines of what I'm saying today, because now when I discover I'm wrong, it's like discovering I had the wrong map. It was influencing a particular premise, a particular concept, something I believed, a particular piece of knowledge that I thought I possessed, led me in a particular direction. It led me to make decisions in a particular way. And when I realized that that information was inaccurate by a little, or especially by a lot, that is something that's cause for joy, because that's cause to rejoice, because you realize, wow, I can now correct course. And I think I've observed so many people who would rather be ignorant, rather remain ignorant than have their premises challenged. And this is why we have so much debate and argument that goes on in the world right now where, it's like, if you don't agree with me, you're evil. You have to think the same things that I think. That, of course, is completely flawed logic. The only progress that's ever made, the only way to be able to influence anyone is through the attitude that it's good that we disagree sometimes, that people are challenging our premises. And I would really encourage you to consider this and think about this in the context of business. What are you doing that you've always been doing and you will keep on doing because you think you are right? And yet, more than once, someone has challenged that and said, we should do it differently. But you dig in your heels and you say, no, this works, and it always has worked and always will work. Why not engage in a more collaborative communication with those people who challenge your premises and find out whether or not there's some merit? Maybe there is something that is a giant secret to you. Maybe there is something that you have believed through and through and you've been wrong all along. Think about the idea of religion. People really don't want to have their religious beliefs challenged, and I understand that. It's very personal. And yet, there can only be one truth. There's not various degrees of the truth. There is the truth, there are facts, and there are things that aren't facts. Therefore, when it comes to something, whether we're talking politics or religion, two very controversial subjects, someone is right and someone is wrong. And it's through discovery and through keeping an open mind and discussing with one another that we can discover the truth. Now, I think the reason that, say, maybe parents are very worried about their children, or a spouse might be very worried about another spouse having a basic understanding of something really important in their life, such as religion, challenged, is because they may fear that they'll be led astray by someone who is not telling the truth. We've got to be open to the idea that we can discover more information. And it is when somebody tries to challenge one of my premises and they are illogical and they fail to make a good case, that actually strengthens my belief in what I think I know. And there is this concept of confirmation bias where you seek out information and sources of information and people who will just confirm what you already believe. We have to be careful about that. I'm a capitalist, so I believe that Adam Smith and his 18th century description of capitalism is one of the best economic pieces of literature ever written. And yet, I like to study Karl Marx and understand where Karl Marx was coming from. In doing so, I've become even more resolved in my belief that capitalism and the ideas that Adam Smith put forward are superior in every way. So ask yourself, are there things that you should be open to and having people challenge your premises? And are you doing that in business? Are you allowing people, other stakeholders on your team to challenge you and then force you to defend yourself without getting emotionally involved, without getting emotionally riled? You have to be able to have a conversation with another person where they challenge you and you say, yeah, I can appreciate where you're coming from. And you try to understand them. The concept that Stephen Covey discusses in his 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is seek first, understand, then be understood. What if you understood these other stakeholders first? What if you opened up your mind to understanding where they're coming from? It may only confirm what you already know, but you have to be genuine in your desire to seek to understand, to first understand, seek first understand. You have to be genuine. You have to really keep an open mind and allow for the possibility that someone may change your mind. They may present to you a piece of information you didn't know. And if something's not sitting well with you and you realize that your argument is based on authority or something like that, I'm the boss, so we're doing it my way. I don't have all the facts, and there is an argument to be made that really puts me on shaky ground. When you realize that happens, I would encourage you even more so to open up to deliberation, and very cordial deliberation within business. And it could be, I think there's a lot of people that watch this that have a spouse involved as a stakeholder in their business. You know, those types of conversations, keep those very cordial. It doesn't matter who you're discussing with, but those people closest to you, sometimes you take some liberties and maybe you break some boundaries and you shut them down really hard. For whatever reason we do that, it's some kind of unfortunate paradox about the people we love the most or that we're closest to, we maybe break boundaries with, and or we don't honor good boundaries and good communication skills. And with an absolute stranger, we'll take the time to understand where they're coming from a little more. Try to make sure with these people in your business that are so important to your success and the other people in your life that you open up to very much understanding where they're coming from and allowing for the possibility that you have an improper paradigm, that one of your premises is incorrect. It's really a scary proposition, I understand. When somebody maybe convinces you that something you've believed for a long time may be inaccurate or incorrect, especially if it's something very important to you, like something that affects your business, and you think that is the reason for your success, it can be a very scary proposition. It can leave you a little bit, on shaky ground, and you're wondering, where you're going to find your foundation again. And you have to be brave. And if you're an entrepreneur or you're in management, then you're already brave. Assign that bravery and that courage to the idea of opening your mind to other ideas that you might be wrong about. Ask yourself that question. Would you rather be right? Would you rather know the truth? Or would you rather remain ignorant? Is it possible that there's one thing, just one thing, that you firmly believe and you are absolutely wrong about it? The answer, of course, for all of us is yes. And we've all experienced that in our lives, where we really felt strongly about something and then later we found out that it wasn't true or whatever, And you can use the example of Santa Claus when you were very young, or the Tooth Fairy, Easter Bunny, something like that. But more in your adult life, as somebody who's very logical and who has a lot of information, you've believed something. Another fun example is misheard lyrics, where somebody misquotes lyrics and they've been singing the song wrong their whole lives. That happened to somebody that I looked up to, and it was actually quite comical. He had the lyrics completely wrong, but we believed something for so long that it's just, we hear what we want to hear. We believe what we want to believe, and we continue on with that. And when I first, in this particular, I won't tell the whole anecdote, but when we first heard that he was misquoting the lyrics, because of the respect we had for this individual, we didn't correct him. Is that happening in your business, where people know that you are wrong as the boss about something that you believe or say, and you don't have a culture where people feel free and they feel trust, where they can trust you to respond cordially if they disagree and they tell you, I think you're wrong on that. And so go back to that question in your mind. Is there one thing right now in your life that you believe very strongly? Is it possible that there's one thing like that you're completely wrong about? I don't have one that comes to mind right now, but I'm sure there are more than one thing. There is more than one thing in my life that I believe strongly about, and I'm completely wrong. And why I feel so confident in that statement is that I have learned, and as I continue to learn, and as you remain humble, you express that humility that we can always be learning, you find, oh wow, I thought this, when in fact it's that. And it might be the polar opposite of what you believed when you learn and you continue to learn. And if that's the case, if you have acknowledged and you say, okay, yes, fine, I will acquiesce, I will concede that there's at least one thing in my life that I feel strongly about, that I'm wrong about. If that's true, then you need to leave yourself open to people challenging your premises on anything on anything, because you don't know what that one thing is. If you knew what that one thing was, you would change it. You would get exposed to that secret, I call it, where there's this new piece of information and now you can operate and go forward. It can be a little scary, it can be a little daunting to have to move forward with new information. And you might be incredulous. You might go, is that real? How can that be true? How can I for so long have believed one thing when something else is true? But it's really liberating when you get that confirmation and you find out, oh wow, I was wrong, because as I said before, you now can operate in a different way. It'll change your trajectory. It'll change the path and correct the course that you're on. Now you can operate with the correct map and you can find that address, that metaphorical address that you've been looking for so much quicker. And in business, you're trying to achieve objectives. You're trying to gain customers and gain revenues and gain profitability. And if you have one solid piece of information that you've been inaccurate or had some inaccurate assumptions or something like that, or you believe really strongly because it's seemingly worked for so long one way and you were wrong, this is liberating, because now you can respond, you can act. I've got new information, now I can correct course and I can have a new strategy. It might have to do with marketing or something. We live in a rapidly changing world, and I'm not saying the truth changes. Certainly market conditions change and there are other things that can change. And it may be that what you once believed is no longer the case because there's a market change or something like that. But what about some fundamental core beliefs that you have? Keep your mind open. As I said a moment ago, if you concede the idea that you may have at least one thing that you believe that is wrong, then you have to also, logic would say, believe that you should open up to other people challenging almost anything, because the various things that you believe, you're not sure which one of those may be the thing that's wrong. And a good cordial debate and discussion will have the power to persuade you, or it'll confirm what you know. Where somebody, where their logic, where they challenge you and the ground that they're standing on is very shaky, they haven't thought out their position very well, and they don't make a compelling case, then it's fine. Then you're like, no, thank you for your input, but I remain unswayed and you haven't persuaded me. I'm not going to change my mind, but if you have new information, I'd love to hear it. Continue to explore that and go out of your way to seek that, because in seeking the truth, even if it means it's going to challenge an existing paradigm that you have, it's going to liberate you. It's going to bring you forward. You're going to be a better person. You're going to improve at the end of this. What I wish to convince you of is that it is completely illogical to exhibit a bunch of emotion or get angry with somebody for disagreeing with you. It can be disappointing when it comes across as a lack of respect for your expertise and knowledge and the many years that you have done things or whatever. If you have strong character and confidence and you're secure in your position and your knowledge and you're humble enough to admit you're wrong, then you can check the emotions at the door and you can look at it through a positive lens. You can say to people, by all means, I'd love to hear where I'm wrong. And this is a great thing for you as a leader and a manager, to keep your mind open to new ideas. It will lead you in directions that you never thought possible. If you are looking at your business right now and something has changed where all of a sudden what you thought would always work is no longer working, and there are some adverse reactions in your business, maybe your sales are down, something's going wrong, then you have to challenge your premises. You need to ask yourself whether or not something that you really believed and thought you could count on, maybe it's because a market condition has changed, or maybe you were fundamentally wrong about something all along and you succeeded in spite of having poor knowledge. There are people in any endeavor, whether we're talking fitness or nutrition or relationships, that they succeed in spite of not doing things the best way or not having all the good information or the right information. So don't look to others and don't look to your past or inward and think just because something has worked that it's impossible, it's wrong. By all means, stay the course. If things are working, I'm asking you to look, is there something right now that's not working? And is it possible that's because something that you believed for many, many years is inaccurate, or it's no longer accurate? Maybe it never was, maybe it is no longer because of a change in the way that the market behaves or something like that. Look to these things as great opportunities. I really do. Great news, I'm wrong. Think of that. Sort of have that as your axiom in the back of your mind when somebody challenges you. And show this video to your team so that they know, or to other people in your life, to other people in your life, so that they will know that you're open to being challenged and that you want to have a relationship which has good communication, where it's completely fine to question me. Question me. I want to understand. If I can't defend my position, chances are I haven't thought it through. I haven't done a great deal of thought about it. And when you have these types of relationships with people where you can have complete disagreement, you won't believe, let me clarify that. Complete disagreement with respect, and you can continue the conversation and you listen to one another, and you're not just listening and just waiting for your turn to talk. You're listening and considering where that person is coming from, and do they have new information that you didn't know? You can challenge, you can say, I'm incredulous about that. Where is that source of information? I'd love for you to send me some literature, send me a link to that. I don't know if your sources are accurate or what have you. And when you have that relationship with somebody where you can have that kind of dialogue and communication, it is very powerful at driving innovation and improvement in your life. So all of these conversations we have, you and I, in these videos, is about improvement, and it's about becoming more effective as a person and as a manager and driving your business forward. And communication is really key. And I have just observed these videos are always born of an observation that I've made very recently with somebody in business, and the idea, or internally, or like I look inwardly, and sometimes I notice things. If you would rather be ignorant than have somebody challenge your premises, that is a real weakness in business and as an effective human being. You should be completely open. I just have observed this so much recently, and with, like I said, with politics, and there's other areas of life where people really feel firmly about what they think they know, they should be able to defend it. And it's not that you're disrespectful, and it's not that you're being disrespected. Now I'm kind of covering the same ground. I just really want to convince you of this, because those people, like myself, who maybe come across as never wanting to be wrong and they dig their heels in, maybe they are like me in that they're doing so that you will make a more compelling argument, because they actually delight in finding out they're wrong. And I truly mean that. I am very genuine when I say I delight. I'm thrilled to find out. I've always been fascinated where there is variance between the common perception and the facts, what reality is, and where people really, really believe one thing and act in a particular way, and then we discover that was completely wrong. That fascinates me. I don't know why, and maybe you're the same, but just because I'm that way, I don't come across that way, and it made me think about it. With my people, I want to encourage them to challenge me if they don't believe the same thing I do. My nature is to play devil's advocate. I challenge other people, and I come across like I'm always trying to be right, but in fact, I am seeking the truth. I prefer the truth, and so should you. The truth shall set us free. That's where we're going to leave it for today. I hope you got something out of this. Please leave a comment that we can all learn from. Perpetual refinement.